what if Figma and Claude Code had a baby? Then you'd get something like Pencil.dev. Let me show you.
Right. So this is a tool I found maybe one or 2 weeks ago. I just haven't had the time to play around with it. And for the last couple of days, I have been. And essentially, it's the best of both worlds from, something like Figma and Design Editor, but also a vibe coding tool. So essentially what you're doing is you're vibe coding your design, and then you take that over via an MCP server to your actual app. And I'm going to show you what I've been doing to basically give our app called Gutsy a bit of a refresh. So you can see this is also vibe coded, of course. Doesn't look horrible, doesn't look great either, right? I think a bit too much going on. You can see that there's not, a good eye for design, because I'm not a designer, I'm just a developer by trade. I mean, I'm doing a lot of product management shit, but I'm just not a designer, right? And so what I wanted to do is just find out, can we give this a bit of a refresh just from a purely design best practice standpoint with something like Pencil, and then get that back into the app. And so far so good. So you can see here that I have already done some work, for example, for the chat, that now looks, again, okay, much worse. And also here for the dashboard. So essentially what I've been doing, I've just been giving it screenshots and then ask it to rebuild the screenshot here in the tool as a quick way to get it over. And I think it does pretty well. I think sometimes it messes up with like colors and stuff, but nothing crazy, and it's always really easy to fix. So let's try this screen here, which is our audiences tab, and let's walk through how this works.
All right, so what we're gonna do is gonna take a screenshot,
maybe some more, for example, how this looks if it's expanded. Same here, there's like a bunch of text, expanded it. I even know we need that here, but we'll see. And then we'll go back into Pencil. They also have cursor extensions and stuff if you're into cursor, but because we use Claude Code, and it doesn't really have an interface to use it through a terminal, I'm happy to just use this desktop app. And so I just, download the desktop app, and what you have to do is you have to connect your Claude Code because it just uses Claude Code under the hood. And now we're going to open a new chat here. You can also have multiple conversations at the same time, which is quite nice. And then what I'm going to say is create a new frame. So basically these are called frames. I think it's the same in Figma.
and then replicate the following. Need the dashboard.
Maybe I also should take a screenshot of trying to get the video tool out of the way.
Let's just try.
Try like this.
I'm too fucking lazy. If it doesn't work, we'll change the approach.
Ooh.
All right, so go in here, get the screenshots in there.
All right, I think these all four. Some of the screenshots show same elements.
Depending on more detail.
Text. Right. And while that's happening,
that might take a little bit because it has to build it from scratch. But essentially, you will see, if you ever done anything with Claude Code, you will see that it will write a to-do list. There it is. And then go down the rabbit hole of executing all these steps, which is essentially also what Claude Code does. And then you can see here that it's reading the other screens just in order to stay on brand. I also had it create this brand colors file because it kept getting the colors wrong. So I basically created a style guide by just giving it my CSS file. So I went into the code and I said, here's our CSS, give me, brand color palette or whatever. And since then it has been quite okay. It was like getting the red and the pink or whatever and the purple red. And now here you can see that it is generating the screen for the audiences. Here you see what's happening.
And now we'll go into cursor. Project is here.
Just so that then we can move over and check if it's moving over. to moving over the design properly.
See here, 3003.
It's quite a small amp, you know.
So my computer is really laggy when I'm recording.
So you can see here already it's doing quite a good job at just replicating. Here, as I said, for example, it got the color on. These are all blue. So this is the only quirk so far that I've seen, but it was, for example, also smart enough to select the audiences here because that's their active tab. Here is the chat down here. So it also, I didn't explicitly tell it that, but it's smart enough to understand. And then, yeah, I mean, overall, I think this might be too far apart, for example, or those wedges. And yeah, the color here.
I also think maybe
I will see what it looks like when it's done. What's also interesting, it always takes screenshots, right? So while it's doing the work, it will be taking screenshots. And in the meantime, we can go here into our audiences tab within the app. And I think you can tell that
it is like a little bit resource intensive because it's my computer's kind of fucking flying away.
how is that, or if it's a recorder tool, but I've noticed that if I'm only working with this, it gets quite crazy. And my laptop
Isn't like super bad, I would say. 32 gigabytes into max.
not the newest, but it's good enough for most shit. Man.
But now we have some feedback.
And again, you can see that it will design, it will take a screenshot, and I will try to closely,
Navigate itself to the perfect line. We'll say.
But now you can just tell it, okay, make this sync with this one, or you can see here on the right, it has actually a proper design editor. It doesn't have all the features that Figma has. It's a bit more basic, but it's still pretty new, so maybe I'll add more. But essentially, what's nice here over something like V0 that also has this is that you can also drag and drop things around, right? So it's essentially grid layout, and then you can go in here and you can basically just,
For example, make the gap a bit smaller.
on that, and then let's see if we can also figure out the gap between those.
what I would like is a sort of tree view, because I don't think I have that. It's like I want to see what's this thing's parent, for example,
Which seems odd, but they don't have that.
because I want to make the space here smaller, but I'm just gonna tell it.
So a couple things for tell it.
All the badges on the new audiences screen should be in the same blue as the urban hoop trendsetters. Also, all of them have interest badges. The bottom two, you forgot them. For the bottom two audiences, you forgot to put them. And then we also want to reduce the vertical spacing between the interest badges,
Because right now that is quite a lot of space that's wasted.
For one of them, you should also show how it looks like when the interest badges are expanded, and also for one of them, you should show how it looks like when the description is expanded. And also, yeah, you'll probably have to increase the height. And if you want to highlight the sidebar, you should make the audiences highlights of the icon blue, but we can also keep it in sync with the other ones. Okay, then you have a purple. Alright, just leave that shit purple, I don't care. Well, also the chats shouldn't be selected because we have audience tab selected, so we shouldn't have two selected items in the sidebar. Alright, so I just reported that. Let's getting these issues here, so it's best to use this with subscription. But I'm trying to have some money. Oh, I don't want to. But that's Anthropic for you, trying to throw everyone. Usually in a new chat it will work again, but I don't know how much longer this will work. And I also don't know why it works in the first place and now it just stops, but I don't know what Anthropic's doing there. But yeah, let's see if it gets that right. And while it's working, we can see I've done some work also on a landing page. You know, that we're also not super happy with the design of the landing page. No, looks decent. I mean, you can still see that
You didn't spend like millions on branding, but you know, it doesn't need to look like hyper vibe coded and all of it looks the same.
so it's been pretty okay to just get some stuff cleaned up. And then of course, if I would hire a designer, I would have them just update this, and then this can easily be connected back to the code base. And I found it to be working better than the Figma MCP, which I'm not like super happy with, and also not with like copy pasting code from Figma, because Figma always creates hard coded widths and heights. So usually the code will end up looking like shit.
So at least it understood nuance, interests, veggies everywhere, you use vertical spacing.
So it has tasks for all of it, but we'll see if it will figure out the chat it already did here, like the state. That looks good. It's cut off, so we need to make the frame a tiny bit higher, but I told it to do it, so let's see if it is smart enough. Otherwise, you'll just go in and you'll do it manually. I mean, sometimes it's just not worth like fighting the fucking thing. Just give up. Use your hands, use your brain. Doesn't work that well, but you can always try. It's like there's also an inconsistency within the design, so I would say this should probably be
color here for CTA. Again, I'm not a designer. Stuff looks like shit. Better.
Yeah, so overall, I've been quite happy with this again, and it does seem to have a sort of decent understanding of what the design should look like, right? Like some best practices of like spacing and weight. Though of course it could be better, right? But I like it a lot more than what I have currently. But once this is done, I think it's quite good, and then we can move that over so you see how the rest works. So essentially what we'll do now is, as long as you have the Pencil app open, you will have the MCP as a tool, and whatever tool you use, you know, based on you use cursor. Any tool that supports MCPs, right, should be able to pick it up, because they basically write it into the settings file that is global for the user.
Right, so now we'll select this object, this frame. We'll go into the terminal. Okay, here. Yeah, that's when you work on 15 things at the same time while recording a video. Lord.
Now we're in Claude Code. We'll see MCP. We see Pencil here. I think I should turn some of these off. Always good to just have as little MCPs on as possible, as they take part of your context window. All right, so now we have them off, and then what we'll say is something that I was saying here: create a reg component based on the selected frame. So we'll say merge the selected frame from Pencil into our side. I haven't done this like a lot of times, so
see if it will get it completely wrong or what.
Essentially, the tool has quite a lot of interesting MCP tool calls. So it passes the state from the editor. It somehow knows to take the state from here and then use it within Claude Code, which is, I think, quite interesting. I actually know how they do that.
Yes, they must be somewhere in the folder itself of the app.
Alright, so it found the frame and the gradient. I guess also have components. I haven't been really using components yet. See you. It's just first pass. I wouldn't expect it to get it like perfect the first time around, but
hopefully we'll get close. So this is how it currently looks.
Even here.
Also, what I found interesting is that it can pass around screenshots. I didn't actually know that works.
It can return images, or MCP can do something with images. You never stop learning it.
I mean, I guess the improvement from this one to this one is there, but it's not like crazy. What I think was quite interesting is the improvement from
Chat itself here. This looks a lot better than what I gave it. This one. He now has self Mark Andreessen's head as a baseball cap.
So this is what
Chat looks like now. I think this is much better. Less of the nested chat bubbles here. I don't really get that icon. Fuck, that's supposed to be. You don't even know.
I generally also like the icons better.
And also they're not as in your face. They're less, with less opacity maybe. That's what.
It's definitely
Easy to see that it's better. Just don't know enough about design to tell you what's better. So, but we'll got that taste. No.
Button's already pink. Great. We're done, I guess.
I think this is now also data.
no told me it's done.
It looks like monorail.
For example, here, I think this is still too close together.
See. Give it some examples where it should double check.
Okay, you're right. I'm always right. You're absolutely right. Favorite thing in the world to hear.
Good catch.
Or if you would do your work properly, have to fucking check you up then.
I guess it's easier to package different components and then move over component by component, because then it has less to analyze and less to do.
So that's probably best. Doesn't really use those classes from probably instructed to do that.
Now this looks better, huh?
So I feel like there's this different icons.
Oh, some point. Stupid. What it is?
I mean, it is.
Same icons. Can the code. It's just using a slightly different icon.
Spacing.
I feel like this is okay. Fuck with that too much.
So yeah, there's like some small tweaks. Again, if you need to validate what it's doing, but then also if you start setting it up, I think it will be easier to get right from scratch, to move things over from scratch to the design, to the code base. Or if you do it component by component, just break it down a little bit more. I think that's probably what's also preferable to do in Figma. And so do some more fine tweaks, but overall, I think I'm quite happy with compared to Figma MCP, where
With like, you might as well not use it from my experience.
I think it's quite okay. Could it be better? Yeah, of course.
Is it also a bit of an ask to throw it at a quite large code base? Probably yes also. So I think for that, it's doing a pretty good job. And yeah, if you found this interesting, or if you're not a designer, but you're a vibe coder that is looking to improve their design a bit, yeah, check it out. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.